You've heard about investing, had a look online, and then became completely overwhelmed. Shock. There are hundreds, if not thousands of choices, and assuming you're brave enough to put money in the markets, you've likely been told to dump your money into an S&P 500 ETF.
Literally, S&P 500.
S&P 500.
The S&P 500.
S&P 500.
S&P 500.
And maybe even crypto. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad, but is it right for you? Do you understand what you're putting your money into? Because the likely answer is no. It's easy to follow the herd as it feels safe. By the end of this video, you may well decide that launching your money on shitcoin is good for you. In which case, but let me show you what else is out there and how they differ to the above. In this video, I'll walk you through 3 different styles of ETFs that tick the beginner's anxiety box, how they differ from the broad market indices, and the types of allocations you can expect from model portfolios. By the end, you'll have a much better idea whether you should follow your friend or make your own decisions. Hi, I'm Matt. I worked in finance in London for 15 years and I hold the Chartered Financial Analyst qualification. Before we go on, this is not investment advice. It is a framework to help you consider your own circumstances and help provide clarity when making your own decisions. I am not telling you which ETF to buy. Right, vamos. Do you have any idea what an ETF is? An ETF, or exchange traded fund, is basically a basket or collection of stocks or other assets that you can buy and sell as you would one individual stock. The main key feature is diversification. Owning just one ETF can give you exposure to hundreds or thousands of companies. It means you don't have to spend time picking individual winners. You own a whole group of assets. This can make your investing journey less stressful. There are other key features and more information in my ETF video. If this is the first you've heard of them, then check out the link above. So what are dividend ETFs? In a nutshell, they're ETFs made up of companies that pay dividends. Regular cash payments to shareholders from profits. Why do investors care about dividend-paying stocks? Well, there are 2 big reasons. Income. You get cash without selling your shares, so you don't have to liquidate part of your portfolio. You're free to use the cash however you wish. 2, stability. Companies that consistently pay dividends tend to be more mature and financially sound. A company needs to have relatively steady earnings and cash flows in order to pay out divs. This can mean lower price changes compared to other stocks. There are 2 versions of ETFs, AC and DIST. If you actually want cash paid to you, then choose DIST, which is distribution. If you want to automatically reinvest dividends and income back into the fund, then choose AC, accumulation. Dividend ETFs aren't the be-all and end-all, but for beginners, they offer clear purpose, income generation, and that can make sticking with an investing plan easier. Next up, quality ETFs. These funds screen stocks for traits like high and stable profits and low debt. The idea is to identify companies with stronger balance sheets than the average stock. What does quality actually mean? There isn't a single universal definition, but for 2 major players, they include high return on equity or return on assets, stable earnings growth, low financial leverage. These metrics are supposed to signal companies that are well run and resilient. That's why investors sometimes think companies with stronger balance sheets can fare better through tough markets. So why do you care? Quality ETFs may be less risky than pure high growth funds in some market conditions, though they can still tank in downturns. They often appeal to investors who want to invest in stocks, but without the mad swings associated with riskier companies. Questions people ask: why not just buy a broad market index? Well, broad indices include both strong and weak companies. Quality ETFs aim to tilt towards stronger names. That can mean lower losses in bear markets, though there's no guarantee of this. Does quality help in crashes? Historically, companies with strong fundamentals have tended to fall less in downturns. But this depends on the quality metrics used and isn't guaranteed, as no strategy is immune to broad market sell-offs. Quality does not equal defensive. Quality is about financial strength and profitability, not economic sensitivity. Check out an article below in the description that I think you may find interesting. Low volatility ETFs pick stocks that move less than the market average. They have lower price swings over time. Why you might like them. Fewer big ups and downs can reduce stress. One of the biggest behavioural traps for investors, new and old, is emotional selling, i.e. selling at the lows. Prices of these stocks not dropping as much as others might make it easier for you to stay invested through market stress. These tend to be companies in defensive sectors such as consumer staples and utilities, which don't swing as wildly as tech stocks on a daily basis. Think of volatility as how choppy a stock's price is. Stable portfolio value usually means less stress. Questions people ask include, is low volatility always better? Not necessarily. You may give up some growth in strong bull markets because low volatility stocks don't swing as high. Does it mean lower returns? It can in some periods, yes. But investors aren't seeking stocks that rocket to the moon when selecting low vol. They're seeking less anxiety about being invested. Like the sound of that? Now let's look at some examples. These have literally been plucked from a search box. I'm not recommending you buy these. These funds aren't mutually exclusive. They can be overlap. So you can easily have dividend companies in quality and low vol ETFs. Quality ETFs may have some growth stocks in them. Broad market ETFs have everything in them. So it's important to check you're not accidentally doubling down on the same stocks. Stick around so I can show you how to check. I'm now going to show 3 different model portfolios based on attitude to risk. The conservative pie, high cash allocation, high bond allocation, and for the stock allocation, a mix of low volatility and dividend ETFs, along with some gold. And this may suit someone with short-term financial goals or very averse to loss. The large amounts held in cash and government bonds means lower price variability than stocks, but also lower returns. Now that may be an acceptable trade-off for you. There are current noteworthy shifts in rich countries' government bonds at the moment, including the US, UK, and Japan. We're all drowning in debt, hence the inclusion of gold despite its high price. Don't know what a bond is, or want me to talk about bond ETFs? Type a comment below. The balanced portfolio, or balanced pie. A lower cash allocation, lower government bond allocation, higher stock allocation with a mix of growth ETFs and broad market ETFs, and a bit of gold. This pie is for long-term, high-risk investors who want the best of both, growth and income. Higher allocation to risky assets means the potential for higher returns. The aim of the game here is to meet your financial goals, but also to beat inflation. And investing in stocks and real assets has historically been the way to do that. And lastly, the aggressive portfolio, or the aggressive pie. Minimal cash, high stock allocation, being the broad market ETFs, small cap ETFs, emerging market ETFs, or thematic ETFs, which we haven't discussed. Some commodities, and even crypto thrown in for good measure. This is definitely an end of rainbow pie. As for how to decide proportions, there's no formula as you need to consider your own goals and tolerance for risk. However, rule of thumbs may help as a starting point, like allocating between stocks and bonds based on your age. So a stock percentage would be 120 minus your age, and the bond percentage would be your age minus 20, or the traditional 60-40% split to equity and bonds. Now, I promised I'd show you how to check fund overlap. This website is great. It tells you the countries and sectors of stocks held in each ETF. You'll find the S&P 500 is surprisingly tech-heavy, with the big names you've heard of taking up a lot of room in the index. The fund overlap feature informs you just how similar 2 funds can be. It wouldn't be wise to buy both funds that are practically the same in all but name. It would mean you're not really diversifying, which increases your risk. You can compare any 2 funds for free, but you need the tickers. You'll find these by Googling the fact sheets of ETFs that you're interested in. In the description below, I've given you the tickers from the examples in the table earlier, along with the link. You're welcome. Time for you to take the next step. Decide on your financial goals first, and then think about a style mix. Once you've set your framework and you've chosen some ETFs, put in amounts that you feel comfortable with. Start small, build your confidence, increase your contributions, and stay consistent. Long-term success is about patience and discipline. If you're looking for guarantees, just stick your money under the mattress. But you will become poorer that way. All financial assets have risks, even government bonds, especially considering the levels of debt in the US, UK, and Japan. Simply eye-watering. But no worries. Let's just keep borrowing more and pissing it away on crappy PPE and other nonsense. Take a look at my other video on low volatility ETFs in more detail. With lower price swings than main market indices, these may just be the funds that you're looking for. I'll see you there.